When people look at someone who's generated over $1 million in thank you for closed business, they often assume there must be some secret strategy. What surprised me about Rachel Baggett Gilliam is that her approach is actually pretty simple.
And that's what I say to them each week is I believe in you and I want you to believe in me.
Rachel has only been in BNI for about a year, yet she generated more than 1.1 million in thank you for closed business in just 7 months. That's the kind of result that makes people ask, what is she doing differently? Part of the answer started before she ever joined.
To expect. But I'm going to tell you, the energy in that room was great.
But showing up wasn't enough. Rachel immediately went to work, learning the system and making herself visible.
Completed all the education. I've got my picture up and running and followed all the rules so that I could be a 10-minute presenter.
But my favorite moment from this episode may have been when she explained just how far she's willing to go to help a client.
I'm not afraid to sell a small house. In fact, I sold a meth lab a few years ago.
In this episode, Rachel shares how she built a 26-year real estate career, how she became one of the top referral generators in Tennessee, and what newer BNI members can learn from someone who made an impact fast. Let's get started. Welcome to the Perfect 100, the podcast for BNI members who want to maximize their membership, deepen their impact, and grow their business through intentional networking. I'm your host, Tammy Zurak, a CliftonStrengths coach, longtime BNI leader, and one of the few members worldwide to maintain a perfect Power of One score. Each week, we'll explore the habits, mindsets, and everyday strategies of BNI members who are turning their membership into momentum. Hello, and welcome back to the Perfect 100, the podcast for BNI members who want to maximize their results, their referrals, and ultimately their business. In episode 41 with Bruce Upchurch, we looked at what it looks like to build this over time. Today, we're going to look at what happens when it clicks fast. I am joined by Rachel Baggett Gilliam, a 26-year realtor, lifetime multi-million-dollar club winner with Crye-Like Real Estate Services, who has built an incredible business over the course of her career. But what makes this conversation so interesting is what's happened in just the last year. Rachel has only been in BNI for about a year, and she's already generated over $1 million in thank you for closed business in just 7 months, placing her right at the top of the Tennessee region. Different chapter, same opportunity, very different timeline from the episode with Bruce. So today we're going to unpack what she's been doing, how her strengths show up in her business, and what newer members can learn if they want to see results faster. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Tammy. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good. All right, we're going to start off with your 45 seconds. Go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah. My name is Rachel Baggett Gilliam, and I work for Crye-Like Realtors. Crye-Like is the number 4 largest company, real estate, in the nation. I'm currently ranked number 12 in the Mid-South with Crye-Like, and I represent residential, commercial, land, and resale properties.
All right, so you've been in real estate for 26 years, and I have seen you and your mom out at events together. In real estate, is real estate something that started with her, or did you both find your way into it separately?
Yes, well, we actually ran in different courses. She has been in real estate for 40 years, 38 of those years at Crye-Like. So I am a second generation realtor. Both of my parents were actually in real estate. Dad had retired as an engineer at a very young age and got into real estate as well, and has since passed, but mom is still currently a realtor. So when I got married and had my children, I thought this would be a great career path. So in 1998, I went to real estate school alongside of a 2-year college and got both degrees the same month, actually. Pursued the other career first, which was in information technologies, and quickly learned that's not what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I have a big personality and I needed to be outside and meeting folks, not inside working on computers. So um, I started with her in 2000 as her assistant for about 6 years and then branched off into sales myself after I had my children. It was a great schedule that I could make and work as little or as much as I could with having the kids in school and in sports. And luckily, it's just taken off since then. And it's been Definitely the career choice. I made the right career choice now.
Awesome. Well, it's sometimes we have to try a lot of doors and walk down a lot of roads before we figure out what the right one is. But you've been in yours for a long time, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
So tell me about growing up. Were you, were you feeling like entrepreneurship since both your parents were in real estate? Was that something that you saw that path and kind of recognized that's something I could do, or was that just something that came later?
I think it came later. I recognized right away that mom was always on the phone, house phone, mobile phones when they came about.
Right.
Always had a pen and paper on her side or in her purse, and it was expected that if we were on vacation or, she was going to check in and see if she had calls. And so I knew it was a 24-hour day, 7 days a week type job. And at first, I didn't think that would be something that I'd be interested in. And now I tell my adult children that, that they still say they're not interested, but one's showing a little bit more interest now. So I think it is something that we kind of learn to love, if you will.
Yeah.
And then once, I'd answer the phone and start taking messages for her and, just as a small child. So I think just growing up in the business, it was something that I was destined to do.
Okay. Well, my husband has always asked me through the years because I love looking at houses and, I love kind of just the whole like process of it. He's like, you should become a realtor. And I was like, I don't know if I want to work all those evenings, weekends. It's like kind of you're always on because when you're available when your client's available, which is around the clock, right?
Absolutely. Yes. When most people are off work, nights, weekends, holidays, that's generally when we're the most busy with clients. Other than that, we're most busy with the paperwork and creating media and ideas and things and how to service them, find houses for them, sell the ones that we've got listed. It is definitely not something you can stop at a certain hour and pick up on Monday morning. It's absolutely not that job.
Well, certainly if you wanna be successful like you are, it's definitely a lot more time in than, I think there's a lot of people that get a license, but there aren't a lot of people that are actually successful at it because they have to do kind of you have to figure out how to I mean, it's like any small business, but you have to figure out how to do all the things, and you have to go all in, and you have to be willing to go the extra mile, so to speak, to get people, what they need so you get what you need and keep that moving. Yeah.
It's definitely something that we keep going all day long, whether we're at the dinner table or trying to enjoy a meal or not do work, it still tends to come back to work. Oh, that was a great idea. Or maybe we could make a reel from that. Or, did you see this posting or have we tried that photographer? It's always something that ends up being dinner time conversation when we do get dinner.
Right. Yes,
So
if you
we're
get
too
dinner.
busy. But in this household, being second generation, my husband's also a realtor, so it's something that is top of mind at all times.
Awesome. Alright, so when you first got licensed, tell me what that season was like.
Oh gosh, very expensive. It's very expensive to get your name out there and to be known. And a lot of people reach out and want to know if I would mentor them or help them get started in the business. And I always just, like any other career, it's not a get rich quick scheme. Some people are like, oh, I have a little extra time in my day. Maybe I could sell houses. And I'm like, that's just not generally who is successful for a long period of time. You may have some family and friends that you can sell a house to a year and pay off some of the dues that you owe to the board. However, to make money, you've got to spend money. So
Right.
the marketing, the advertising, and then again, the time that you have to be present to put into it. I'm very present in the community that I live and reside in. In every moment that I have free time, I try to be at an event that supports the community or the chamber, somewhere that my face might be of some type of reflectant conversation that somebody can put towards real estate. And not everybody comes to me and wants to buy a house right then, but it's a conversation and maybe a business card or my face that they may remember later and pass on, or they have kids that are trying to get married, and new
Yeah.
stages of life. They have parents that are also looking to, find retirement homes and what it looks like and the best way to for that chapter. So real estate is all ages from 18
Right.
and up. So it's very exciting every day, and we still learn things every day too.
Yeah. What do you think came more naturally to you than you thought it would?
Oh gosh, I think listing appointments. When I first got in the business, they would say you have to list to last. And I didn't really know what that meant. And to me, I was more comfortable with buyers at that time. Buyers would kind of pick you. And when they pick you, you feel like you've kind of got that secured a little bit, and you show them houses when they're available, and just match up your schedules and you make it. Well, listings were kind of intimidating because you're most likely going to be interviewed. You're going to have several realtors coming in, dress the part, who's going to bring what material, what type of advertising and marketing are they going to do for this homeowner. And so now, probably in the last probably 10 to 12 years, listings are just, they're still as exciting as they were. Like, when I first started, there's still
Okay.
that energy that's built up of the not knowing if they're gonna select you or not, and I go into each one of them still competing, just because you are really good at what you think you do every day doesn't mean you get every opportunity.
Right.
You still feel the same way if you don't get it, whether it's the first or the 100th, if it's rejection is rejection. So it's still the emotion, and it's nothing that's fell flat with me. I'm just as excited to get every listing, whether it's 100,000 or whether it's $1 million. They're all exciting.
Yeah.
And you have to go into each one knowing that who is going to sell that house and who is going to buy that house that's perfect for them. And you travel the same excitement pattern with them, just whatever they've worked their whole life to achieve, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I love
that's,
that.
yeah.
I think it's unique that you get to be a part of someone's story, right? Is that,
Yes.
it's kind of what you just said is you're getting to meet someone where they are in their life journey and figure out what's next for them and hope that they get the best thing possible for where they're going to head, right?
Absolutely. It's a great thing. You follow young couples that are just starting, and then as you follow them throughout social media and whatnot, and you watch them become parents or adopt dogs or whatever it is that's in their life that's exciting, and you get to just reach out to them and be as excited for them and follow their paths through their life. It's extremely rewarding.
Well, and I think the unique thing that realtors do really well is follow that path, right? A lot of the other businesses are transactional and once and done, and you guys stay through that journey. You recognize that it's a bigger sale far less often, so you've got to stay throughout the journey with them in order for them to keep coming back to you, or else you're yesterday's news because they don't even
Yes.
remember who, I can think back to I bought a condo and I have no idea how that happened at this point because it was so long ago and I live in a different place, but I know the realtors that I worked with where I live now because they've stayed in touch,
Stayed
right?
in
So,
touch. I definitely recommend any realtor should do that.
yes, if you want to be successful for sure.
They
But
should
that's really
definitely keep up with you.
Yeah, but that's definitely a life lesson for every business owner is, obviously if you're depends on what you're selling. If you're selling a foundation to a house, maybe you're not staying in touch, but a lot of the other positions that people take or work that they do can stay in touch and can
Mhm.
come into their life later on, so that's a good thing. So you built this great foundation and now your business includes your husband. Tell me, how did that come together?
Yes. Well, it was an eventful stage, in our life where I was just busy enough that I needed an assistant, but I didn't need one all the time. And I thought, well, instead of doing that, if we built into a career where we were essentially a team, we're not just in life, but also with our clients, it would be better that I would have more time that I could place, at other places, or time that I could put plate elsewhere. And he could kind of do the same, but yet we have the conversations in the evenings about who I'm representing or who I'm working with or what the floor plans of these houses are. But he was working in IT. He just listened to me rant and things. So he knew all the information anyways and was part of the story by name. And as my clients got to know me, they got to know, my family, and they'd hear me say my husband's name. So it was kind of just an easy transition to get him through the real estate testing and to get him right into sales with me, and done a great job. He outsold me last month. We won't
Nice.
put too much cheer on that. No, I'm teasing. But yeah, he's done great. He's been in just over 3 years, and never have been in sales before, but, had to get him on social media. He wasn't even
Right?
on social media, but now he has the max amount of friends allowed by an individual, and so
Okay.
to friend him, you have to unfriend someone, which is just crazy amount of people that he knows, but we were born and raised in this city, and we do know a lot of folks, so, it's been a great 3-year ride. And then so we've got my mom who is still sales as well. So we're kind of a 3 for 1 type team, if
Yeah.
we go on vacation and mom steps in, or same with her, if she's wanting to garden that day or something, we've got her as well. So, it's been really great.
So I think that the common when you think about working with your family, there are some built-in, potential landmines. So do you feel like having family in your business sharpens you, or sometimes complicates them, or a little bit of both?
Well, I guess maybe both. It's mostly beneficial, again, because everything's top of mind, and that's kind of where we're all headed in the same path. We all are really great at understanding a couple of different things, like real estate is probably the biggest investment most people are ever going to make, and we want to be a part of that journey, again, no matter how small or big. And we don't count the dollar signs or the commission numbers as the contracts come in. It's not money, you're a family to us who we're trying to help through the process. And a lot of realtors get things twisted a little bit and overspend and then try to budget back up and keep tally with where they're at money wise, and that's just not something that any of us look at. We try to look at it from a different stance. We all drive older vehicles. I mean, it's not like we're trying to claim the world in any way. We're actually trying to help you achieve ownership. And Heath has been really great at guidance for people. So mom and I've been in for so long, we feel like maybe some things we do have been, I guess they're more old school. So instead of taking paper notes, he had been IT, he's got us all these great tools and ways that we can take notes electronically and share them amongst the group without having to stop and make copies or, things like that. And he has been very helpful in helping people build their credit, there's a few great ways that you can do that quickly, which has been really great because we usually want to help people and send them to maybe a mortgage lender that will help them over time. But will they remember, will they get lost in the paperwork shuffle? So he's been really great at guidance provided to our clients to help them build credit. Or if we're selling a house to parents that have children that are maybe preteens or teenagers, he knows how to help them be put on credit cards as authorized users, or, things like that will help them build their credit, because no
Right.
credit is just as bad as bad credit. So
Yeah.
it's been very helpful along the journey to listen to him guide folks to when they are ready, we're ready to go. So
Okay.
it's been good.
So he adds innovation in some ways to the party that you hadn't thought you even would consider needing until
True.
someone else shows up with a different set of eyes and sees things, right?
It's a great way to put it. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Bullseye.
I like to think that's what I do as a coach because that's what, people come to me and they're so, we're very linear. When we're in our own business, we're very linear. We do this and then we do this and then we do this.
Yes.
And we don't really ever stop once we've been doing it that way for a long time to
Okay.
stop to think, but is there a better way, a different way, a faster way? So sometimes having outside eyes freshens things up. And that's often how it works in BNI because, people come into BNI to transition over to BNI with a new set of eyes and they don't know, they don't have any preconceived ideas. They just look at it for what it is and decide, okay, what am I going to make of this?
Right.
So let's talk about that with you. So you've only been in for about a year. What made you decide after a pretty decent career in what you're doing now's the time to join BNI?
Well, like I said before, I really like to put any free time I have somewhere that's helpful to the community or to myself. And I was on the board of directors for the Memphis Association of Realtors for 2 years. It was an elected position. So, alongside of being a realtor, you get to be on the board of directors. You get to do a lot of great travel, learn a great deal of information before it is kind of produced out, right? You get to vote, go to board meetings and things, and see how it kind of works from the background. So, as you're overseeing, if you will, 4,600 realtors that are licensed in the Memphis area, you think, "Yeah, wow, only 13 of you, that's a big job." So, after those 2 years, I had a little bit of extra time that I wanted to place and just kind of talk to my managing broker to see the best way that I could do that. She encouraged my membership at the Chamber of Commerce with my local city. She also encouraged maybe to visit a BNI group. A mortgage lender that's in the group had reached out to her with an opening and just said, this is a big position to fill. We're looking to fill it with someone that is, you know, that produces,
Top
that
notch.
that
Yes.
can that can send referrals. That's ultimately, what a tier does. And she was like, "So maybe you should reach out and visit with that." And unfamiliar with what the group was,
Right.
I thought, "Well, I'll reach out to that person. I'll find out when they meet." And it was the very next day at 8:30 in the morning. And, realtors don't real or banks, nobody really gets going to about 9. So I
Right.
thought, well, I could do that from 8:30 to 10. I could make that work tomorrow. So I went and visited the group and I had no idea what to expect. But I'm going to tell you, the energy in that room was great. I've only had to miss it like a couple of the meetings over the last year or so that I've been in, just maybe a pre-planned vacation or 2. But with that being said, like, the energy was great, and to hear all the people in the group talk about shifting business from this person and thank you for closed business, and the 10-minute presentation that was provided that day was extremely enlightening, things that I didn't know a CPA could even handle or, it was really good. So anyways, I just threw my name in the hat. I didn't realize how many names were in the hat, perhaps until after the interview, but God willing, I was the one that they chose for the group, and it's been a great fit, and I'm excited to wake up and go there on Wednesday morning, so it's been really good.
'Cause you said a couple things in there. So the first thing was they were looking for, and I think I used top notch, but looking for somebody that their realtor was exiting and they're looking for a good one. So it wasn't just you. They wanted they didn't want just a realtor. They wanted a good realtor who was selling and, active and all those things, not just somebody starting out necessarily because they
Right.
don't have the database. Somebody who's producing makes a significant difference. And they also went they didn't just ask you, they asked others. So I guess, I don't know, good news, bad news, they didn't tell you there were others, but there, the good news is you got it. This episode is sponsored by Mindy Lovern with Huntington Bank. Builders and their clients are choosing her single close construction loan because it simplifies the process. One closing, fewer headaches. If you're planning to build, connect with Mindy at mindylovern.com. That's MENDYLOVERN.com. I think that it's important for me, at least, in my chapter, we have often had seats open where we had 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the position or seat available, for a role opening like Realtor. We had that happen, and it's important for me, I think, to say, "Look, we're gonna try to find you another opportunity if it doesn't work out, but we want to make sure that you're the best fit for us and that we're a good fit for you, frankly, because you've got a busy business and you wanna make sure it's gonna be the right time you're spending and make it, fruitful for you."
Yes, I think you said that perfectly. I mean, it was very much a good fit for me, and I was hoping it would be a good fit for them. And I think, once you kind of prove to them that you're going to show up and try to provide leads and good referrals, to them and help build their business. And kind of that's what I say to them each week is I believe in you and I want you to believe in me.
Right. Awesome. Well, let's see how good a fit it actually is. So let's put up on the screen here. I've got your Palms report. Now we were actually, we had a little bit of a tech glitch. So
Mhm.
we were originally recording this about a month ago. So we're going to just count those 4 weeks out, but this goes from October 1st through about 4 weeks ago. So you had from left, and I've got Bruce up on the screen also because we had the intention we initially I said in Bruce's episode yours was next, and we just kind of skipped a couple people and came back. But so I wanted to show everybody that listened to Bruce's episode, and if you didn't, when you're done with this one, you can go back and listen to that one. But present, so you 18 present, 0 absent, 0 late, 0 managed, 4 subs. Referrals given inside 3, referrals given outside 52, referrals received inside 1, referrals received outside 5, visitors 0, one-to-ones 57. Thank you for closed business given $1,121,807 and 24 CEUs. So for anyone that didn't hear that, that's from October 1st through this is June 16th. So it would have been through about April was May 16th. Rachel's total given was $1,121,807. And I looked up the total region. Thank you for closed business. That is across 344 members, a total of 19,330,708 at the moment in time. So Rachel equals 5.8% of the entire region's thank you for closed business given, not even a year in. So that is pretty amazing. So if you're listening, you can look at your 12-month, what you've given or received actually, and thank you for closed business in the app. So to really give you a sense of how rare that level of contribution is, especially in that time frame. So walk me through what did you do in your first 90 days ish, that most members, or maybe now that you've been in a little bit, you maybe see other members aren't doing, or just what you thought was a good track that got you this way.
Um, Completed all the education. I've got my picture up and running and followed all the rules so that I could be, a 10-minute presenter. I think that was pretty first key. Yeah, that was again, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I knew I wanted to be in that room full of great people. So, once I got into that room and was given the position, paid my dues, got all the CE done, tried to do it within, like, the first week or 2, and then I could start on my 10-minute PowerPoint presentation. And then I just kind of opened my book to, again, being old school. I've worked with many people for many years and had to kind of open that to some new people, see how new people are doing the work, or maybe offer 2 or 3 referrals for each job that was needed instead of one and let the clients decide. So yeah, it was great. And then we went right into one of our quarterly socials and had a great event. I got to meet some of the spouses, even some of them brought their children. And we just kind of grew. I just kind of fit in like a puzzle piece into our chapter's family and don't have any intentions on going anywhere. It's just been really good.
Yeah, so you again said a few things in there that I want to highlight. So the first thing you said, to take it back a minute, is you said what impressed you about the meeting was the featured presenter when you went as a visitor, right? Is
Yes.
you learned all these things about this person that you had no idea that they would be that would bring opportunities to them. And
Mhm.
you internalized that enough to say, that is my goal when I join, is I want to get to that. I want to be standing there saying those things and let people know what I do, right? So that was
Mhm.
kind of a key trigger there for me. And I think that your innate ability to figure out how to work a network, this was an opportunity for you to get in there, see what's happening, and just immediately start that process over again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's great stuff. So, is it did it click so early for you just because of your background that that's you just see an opportunity, you recognize it? For me, I have high strategy, so I can look at an opportunity and just see the path. Is that something you feel like that's just innate for you?
So I'm a huge competitor in anything that I do. I like to produce big numbers, and whether that came out of one-to-ones, or whether it came in thank you for closed business. I mean, I understand that I can send a sub, a repair job much easier than they can probably send me an entire house to list for sale. But they have done a great job in using me as resources. If somebody, the banker needs to refinance a home, or mortgage lender is looking for, certain specs, or just some people just don't know the process and they're afraid to ask what they think is a dumb question. And I don't. So, it was just kind of a good fit for me to just kinda roll in and say, "This is me. I'm not afraid to sell a small house." In fact, I sold a meth lab a few years ago. I'm kind of
Right.
that person that, in my office, if you don't know what to do with it or where they should go with it, I'll do my best to figure it out. Um,
I
down
assume the
to
meth lab wasn't the next juice wasn't another meth lab.
just one, and it was completely rebuilt, after we had the hazmat suit in to go look at it the first time. It went down to the studs and was rebuilt. It was a brand new, beautiful home. Just had a stigmatism on the address, but we got past it.
Right.
But again, just being who I can be and helpful in any way, whether it was just to answer questions, or if I don't get into rental properties or property management, but I did have people that have questions with that. And I'm not going to blow them off or not return their calls. I'm just going to send them to someone who can offer them more education on that. So, it's just been a great opportunity, if you will, to be a resource for so many people. And our group is very versatile in career paths as far as ages as well. People that are starting out, or second move ups, or retirement. So it's been a really great experience.
Love that. And let's show I didn't show your power of one, but this is the perfect 100. So let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So you had a score of 75. You had 15 points in the yellow for attendance because you had subs, and that's just unfortunately
Yes.
counts against you a little bit. You had 20 points for referrals given, 0 points for visitors, 20 points in the green for ones, and 20 points for CEUs. Any thoughts on that?
Um, I need to bring more visitors. I see my weaknesses, you see my greats points. No. I, um, I really am truly committed to what I'm involved in. If I can be there, I will be there. If I have something that overlaps, in advance, I will certainly try to have a sub in my place, because the group graciously appointed me to be in that seat, and they expect me to be in that seat myself every
Yeah,
Wednesday, my realtor mom or husband. So I try to be present myself. And so
yeah.
by looking at that report, I guess I'm a little surprised. I just assumed that's what everyone was achieving, was numbers. So to say that I sit at home and try to think of ways to boost those numbers, I don't.
Right.
But I am pleased to see those, only because you're the one that can point out to me what that means, regionally. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, green is good. As I always like to correlate green and money. It's if you're gonna maximize the opportunity not only for you but for everybody in the room, then green is the way you want to be. Do we expect everybody to be, green all the time or at 100? No. But the process of doing what you're doing is obviously being successful. So, and you mentioned the visitors. I think that it is important to have visitors because that's what helps the chapter grow.
Yep.
And you
Mhm.
never know, right around the corner, who that next visitor could be bringing you that dream client that you don't have yet.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
that's the way I like to look at visitors is the more people I can bring to the room, the more opportunity for us all. So, but you're knocking it out of the park. Number two, and thank you for closed business. So we're gonna rubber stamp that one gold. So when you're operating at your best, what does that actually look like in terms of feeding the room?
As far as for like each week, Tammy?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like kind of the overall when you're there, and actually I wanted to make one point before I go through with that question because you said something a minute ago and I wanted to highlight that as well as you said that they chose me to be in this seat and you assigned a certain level of respect to that, right? Is that
Mhm.
I was chosen to be here, so I want to deliver for the room. And that I think kind of feeds into the question is, when you're doing what you think that means, what does that look like?
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, really, it means to show up a few minutes early and network because there are always visitors in the room. And if you are not the presenter that week, you only get 30 seconds to tell them all the great things about yourself.
Mhm.
So
Right.
essentially, it's a great time. And visitors feel very welcomed, even with a simple hello or do you want to sit by me? It makes them feel more invited and welcomed as well. So that's kind of where I always like to try to put myself is bringing when visitors do come in a comfortable spot, making sure everyone knows that you're happy to see them is always good, even if it's just a simple wave across the room once the meeting has started or in the group me text, something good morning to everyone or, just a simple way of showing that you're there and that you want to be there has been really great. Of course, we have a really great group as far as what they like to applaud.
Yes, they do.
Visiting other chapters, I don't feel all
It's
the
not what
applause.
everybody else
It's
does.
not like
Yeah.
that everywhere else.
No.
So, it's just, it's very comfortable, and then again, sometimes at the end, when you're doing your thank you for close business, some people tend to go over their allowed speaking time because they have so many people to thank for close business, and I'm thinking, that alone is a statement. Like if you can't in 10 seconds say, I'm thankful for this person, and you have to go over because of how much business you're getting from just this group, that's fantastic. Like that's
Yeah.
exciting. That chills.
Love that. All right. So help us help others. I recognize I worked with a lot of realtors in my photography days. So I've been a little more in I don't know, behind the scenes, I guess, of what it looks like to be a high producing realtor. When we have a seat open in a chapter, we're looking for those people, right? We want like you. We want somebody who's been in the career for a good amount of time, who is I said multi-million-dollar club. I don't know if that's a universal thing or that's just a Memphis club kind of situation, but how does one go about finding if they have an opening in their chapter, how does one go about finding the right realtor to, that's going to bring lots of opportunities for everybody?
Sure. Oh, I think that's really good. That's a great question because I feel like every chapter should really work together universally to trying to determine who will be the best fit for everyone. I would probably recommend word of mouth. You can check with different brokerages. They all have a managing broker that are sitting in their offices most every day. That's probably the best source, to me. I know if I'm sending a referral outbound to another company, I can see credibility online so much, but I also would like to call and have a conversation and say, this is the type of client I have. Who do you feel would be a great source, who would have time to do this or who would work well with the buyer, So I think seeking into a managing broker would be a great idea. Also, maybe who you've used in the past. Did you use a certain realtor that was really great at their job, that went above and beyond, that always showed up and was on time? Maybe somebody that's kept up with you well, that you feel like was organized. To me, that's probably the best ways to go about finding really great um, realtors to interview. And then too, you've got to be a good fit for them. So, ask them to come visit maybe more than once, just to see how they respond to the group, and vice versa. I know when I left the first meeting, I had kind of gone through the Rolodex, and they say, you can take a card out, don't put one in if you're not a member. And I took one out from every single person. And by the end of that day, I had already found everyone I could on LinkedIn and Facebook, and tried to make some type of connection with them. Um, just so that I was another person in their database, whether they chose me or not,
Right.
my name was in front of them. So again, I think it goes both ways, that
Yeah.
you've got to be a good fit for them as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Reaching out to the managing broker because they work with everybody in the office, so
Mhm.
everyone is under their purview, and they understand kind of what's happening, and they have access to what the results look like, and they know the personality of the person. So if somebody's morning chapter at 7 a.m. and someone they know is not a morning person,
That's true. That's
they
true.
might not say that would be a good fit. So
Yeah. And
love that.
realtors
All right.
come in all shapes and sizes. So
Yes.
just because someone is producing big numbers doesn't mean that they're real people-y.
Yes. Yes.
They may not
Yeah.
like meetings and groups and networking. So it's definitely a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, well, and it also have to look at the relationships in the room because there are people that would also want to work closely with the realtor. We call it the firm,
Yes,
finance, insurance, real estate, mortgage. So if the mortgage person and the realtor are not two folks that are going to get along, that's probably not going to be a great fit. So,
absolutely.
that's definitely things to think about. So, all right,
Hmm.
let's take a turn to your strengths. So, let's educate everybody on all things Rachel. So, your number one is positivity. You
Hmm.
have contagious enthusiasm. You are naturally upbeat and can energize others. Your number two is achiever. You work hard and possess a great deal of stamina. You take immense satisfaction in being busy and productive. Your number three is adaptability. You prefer to go with the flow. You take things as they come and discover the future one day at a time. Your number four is woo. You love meeting new people and winning them over. You enjoy socializing and making connections. Your number five is competition. You measure your progress against the performance of others. You love contests and need to win. So that sounds like a good recipe for a great realtor. Tell me what you thought when you first saw that report.
Um, Dead on.
Yeah.
I might could switch up a few in each day, but within
Yeah.
those top 5 is definitely everything that describes me.
Yeah, and I think that if people are regular listeners, that by now they're probably starting to hear the language up to the point that we start covering what your Clifton strengths are. You said so many things in there that actually are those strengths, right?
Yes.
So, it's an interesting thing to hear how strengths kind of play out into what we do for work, which I love, obviously, because I'm a Clifton strengths
That's right.
coach. Which of those do you think drives your success the most?
Ooh, gosh, a little bit of all of them, really. What drives me the most is probably the strength of positivity. Um, so many things can go awry each day.
Right.
And something I guess I've learned and kind of thought of my entire career is something my mother once said. She had a contract under on a property. Another realtor was the selling agent. My mom was the listing agent. So she had one represented one side. The buyer backed out. I don't remember the reasoning why, but it was more probably financing or changed their mind or something. And I was the one that was undoing the paperwork and just so sad that had to go back on the market, and all the things and start over. And mom came in and she wasn't sad at all. And I said, "What's the deal?"
Right.
why are you not affected? And she was like, now I can try to sell it myself.
Ah.
And I was like, "Oh, I love that." So it's kind of been that way of thinking. Is like, you don't wanna show your clients that something is discouraging or possibly going the wrong path or devastating. You've got to be the one on the other end with the level head that makes the shoe fit, or the one that calms them down without saying, "Calm down."
Right.
Because there are so many things that can go wrong, and people will just give up or quit trying or get upset. And that's not what we want anyone to feel. We're essentially there to try to take the stress off of them,
Right.
not put the stress on them. So I think trying to find the positive in any outcome has got to be number one.
Love that. Yeah. Well, and achiever. So your number two is achiever, and I know you've won some things in your career. So, do you feel like your success is more about discipline or energy?
Ooh, I would say energy.
Okay.
Um, I think to get to this level, discipline is probably in there, but I don't see it that way. But I see things in one direction, and that's go.
Yes.
One speed, one energy, one level, like that's my word. It's just go.
Right.
Whether it's I'm not feeling well, we've got people counting on us. We got to get up and go. Whether it's bad news is on the rise, we've still got to go towards it. So I just kind of take it as it comes and spin it in that direction.
Yeah, well, and I think that that high achiever really fits for you. Is that kind of all the things you just said are that stamina to continue forward and be positive. They all kind of interweave together to adaptability. We're going to go and figure it out, whatever
Yes.
happens. Those are really dead on for what you bring to the table. And that is, I don't know if I'm sure at this level you do take those things into consideration. When you said earlier, where when it's a listing, when you're trying to get a listing, it's you selling against other people yourself, essentially. So, those are the things that make the difference in your business is you embody those things. And that what's the why of the 40, how many, 4,000, how many realtors here?
4,600.
4,600 people, why you're in the top 10% or whatever percent, I know it's high, that you are, is because you have those things, right? That's what makes you unique and different, which is why I love being able to talk about seeing what your strengths are, because that's what you are able to communicate to someone without even having to say those words, right? Is you just bring that. So the difference from what everybody heard from the interview from now, from the beginning until now, they will hear how those things come out naturally in you. And so it isn't even, I have to speak that I'm just positive and I'm a high achiever. It
Yes.
is that you just radiate those things. So it's pretty cool how that works.
Staying ahead in a world driven by technology is key. At Wisdom Integrators, we don't just solve problems, we create opportunities. Wisdom Integrators, connecting your world, solving your problems.
Um, Competition is your number five. So are you competing with yourself or others?
Mm, that's a good question, Derry. I I think the I think the competition with myself is always something that's on site. I have a marketing team. I just completed a one-on-one marketing phone call right before this conversation, and it was how to strengthen my listing presentation. And we went over the stats of the listings that I've achieved, or that I've gotten this year, and well ahead of last year. But in my mind, I didn't get one of them last week, and I couldn't pinpoint why, because I left there very positive and was already marketing it in my head, and thinking of what to do. And then you get the email of, thank you for your time, but we chose someone else. And again, like I said earlier, it's just as mind blowing or upsetting because so I did what probably no one else would do and reached out and said, "Thank you so much for letting me know. Can you please tell me what set the other
Why?
were aside?"
Yeah.
Not knowing if anyone else does that or if I should have done that, but I really wanted to know, and only that one person knew the answer.
Right.
And very, very kindly, she responded to the text, and it was really just something minor. It was more of a pricing thing. It wasn't this person did something or promised something more. And that was dead on because where I had priced my marketing analogy on a 3-year-old home with no comps is exactly where it will sell for, mark my
Right.
word.
Right.
And I didn't fluff it to get the listing and then come and ask for a reduction in 2 weeks. Like I'm very knowledgeable on what's selling and where and for how much.
Right.
And I feel that that other choice was probably more of a lead on. So, but because I didn't get the listing, I wanted to have a conversation with my marketing department to beef up some things. And it's probably not just because of that one, but still the remarks that were kind of humorous of, "You can't get them all, Rachel." And I'm like, "Why? I mean, if I'm gonna
Right.
take my time."
I am
They
gonna get
asked
them all.
they asked me to be there, and I was there, and I had all the information, so, why not me?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't compete with 4,000 and some odd people.
Right.
Um, I mean, I compete with myself hard enough, so I can't do it with all those folks. But anyways, I would say probably compete with myself more so. I know the numbers that I'm wanting to hit for my company. I'm knowing, and not volume wise, just company wide, of where the numbers are. And I think they're important too for the world to see what you are doing and what your numbers are. So that's what's important, and trying to get the houses sold is always the priority. So could I have done this better? I to come back and I guess to rationalize your whole question, it's definitely myself. When you first asked it, I was unsure, but I definitely know the answer now.
Well, and I think you also, I'll answer your question. Does everybody do that? No, they don't. Should they do that? Probably yes, because depending on what you're selling, if you're up against others and you're not being chosen. Now, in your case, I'm sure you track what your percentages are because you had the you're going back to look at your process to make sure your process is sound, which I'm sure that it is, because other people promise things that maybe they can't deliver, and you can't control that, right? But you can control what you do and what you bring to the table, what you're going to offer to a client. But if you don't know why they chose someone else, then there's a lot of information in that. But most people are afraid to ask that question. It feels uncomfortable to say, "Why me?" Why not me? I
Oh,
guess is the way I
yes.
think people look at it. But there's some very useful potential information. Is in that moment you found out that that person probably overpromised and will underdeliver. In your case, there's nothing you could have done differently, right? So then it's
Yes.
on to the next. Is you can't control how people will react to the information they're presented. You can only present the information in the best way possible for their outcome. And sometimes maybe you can educate them against what others will say. And I find that that's a very fine line because you don't want to disparage anyone else, but you have to position yourself as the best option, right? But
Yes.
even then, you're not going to it'd be very unusual to get 100% of the opportunities. So
Why?
I know, right? Why? Why
You're getting
not?
over. No, I'm teasing.
Well, clearly for you, it's not because you're doing really
Yeah.
well. So you are sitting with people making one of the biggest financial decisions of their life.
Mhm.
What fear do you hear that they don't usually say out loud?
Ooh, what fears?
Mm-hmm.
Probably making purchases, from a rash decision, extreme, cases, maybe over budget. Of course, coming in after the COVID years, we saw a lot of poor decision making in real estate. Um, they had really low interest rates, which were very helpful, but people were overpaying. They were not getting inspections, therefore they walked into problems that they had to fix with money they may not have had because they overpaid.
Right.
And still 5, 6 years later, we're running into people that purchased during that time that can't get out because the market hasn't recovered significantly, or they're taking a loss to sell. So, it's really a great idea for the public to not only get pre-approved or pre-qualified from a mortgage lender prior to looking at property for sale, but it's best to understand what that pre-approval looks like. So you could get pre-approved for $500,000, but most of the time you probably should not purchase a house of $500,000 if your family is adjust or used to going out to eat 3 times a week or taking 2 trips a year on vacation, or, it looks different for everyone's family and budget. However, there's a comfort zone that's pretty big that you wanna hit into versus spending all of your money and being house poor, if you will, or that we love our house, but we can't do anything else. Like, if someone ever said that to me and I was a realtor, I would feel like that was a personal attack because we should have already have had that discussion before I led you down that path.
Right. Yeah.
So
What's funny, it's very timely. My stepson is buying his first house. He's in the military. He's out of the country. So sight unseen, this and
mhm,
without our support, I shouldn't say like not support like financially, but he didn't call and say, We knew this
right.
was on the horizon, but he's old enough to where we're like, he needs to make his own decisions. If he asks for advice, we're happy to give it, but kids don't want your advice unless they ask for it,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So we got a call the other day where he sent us a listing that he already put an offer on and for a townhouse. And the realtor told him because it's new construction, he doesn't need an inspection. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea because you don't know. Well, and the realtor said, well, there's a warranty. So if anything's wrong in the first year, they're going to fix it. And I was like, that's not really kind of how that works. So, but it's too late because he's already, well, it's not too late necessarily because they're in the process, but it's one of those things you don't know until you ask somebody
Right.
if you're new in the process or just buy houses all the time, right? That's
Yeah,
what a professional
absolutely.
realtor is for.
Yes, lots of questions that should be asked prior to just saying, "Hey, I wanna go see this house. I wanna buy this house." That's a long process
Yes,
of
and
questions.
this is a recurring theme here on the podcast that we're someone to come to us before they ever thought of doing the thing that we actually are experts in, and they sought our advice first. They don't have to work with us necessarily, but we're certainly going to be a point of information that would influence them potentially to work with us when they have
Mhm.
the right information, and they would be much better positioned to make those decisions with that guidance than if they were to do it first and then come and ask us later.
Yes,
And unfortunately, that's the way it goes, right?
it is.
So, all right. So you've been in business for many years, but BNI is relatively new. So what have you learned about people in the last year that surprised you?
Oh, um, in BNI, I guess the difference is, it's emotional when people leave. It's not very often, but sometimes they even change careers and they come right back through BNI with a different, name, a different face. So I guess that's just been something I've had to get used to a little bit, just with some people that come and some people that go, or it may not be a good fit for them, or maybe just the people that are so busy that they have to, send subs more often than some others. And um, I just feel like at least they're sending someone from their company, not just getting someone to sub in that used to be in the group or something.
Right.
So it's being handled very well when a sub is needed, because if they can send someone in their place versus just having a random sub, I feel like that's still doing their company service. So I completely understand a busy schedule.
Right.
At some point, somebody's going to have to step out and take a phone call and, and make money. So that's fine. But overall, for the majority, most people that are able to make the commitment and pay to be a part of the group want to be there.
Right.
And I think it's the numbers are showing well for everyone in the group. It's just so great. Listening at the end is my favorite part for all the thank you. It's like, thank you for close business. It goes back and forth like a tennis match of this person. And the ones that I can send like multiple people out at one time is so cool, because I'm hearing my name bounced around so much just in a thankful way. Um, and again, I know I can send them a lot more than they can send me, but I can have 5 or 6 subs there, and then like I'll get a selfie of the group. They're all there. One's pressure washing and one's working on this and fixing that. And it's so cool. They'll just put it in the group text like, "Hey, Rachel, thank you." And there's 4 or 5 different people from the group in there. So it's very rewarding in small ways.
Well, in second highest, thank you for close business in the region, you hear your name a lot. So I'm gonna tell 'em. All right. So let's go into quick fire. So these are just short answers to fast questions. So which do you prefer most, first time buyers or repeat clients? Okay. Most emotional part of buying a home.
Negotiations.
Yeah, I bet. One mistake buyers always make.
Ooh, just one? No kidding. Oh gosh. Oh, one mistake they always make. I would say overpaying.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. So
yeah.
that's working with the wrong realtor, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it could
Um,
be, could be.
best referral you've received so far?
Ooh, I received a referral this past week. It's supposed to list on Thursday for a large listing, 1.1 million in Lakeland, that came from a client in from an open house 2 years ago that I haven't seen or heard from since.
Wow.
I kept their information. I keep plugging away and sending, "Hey, thanks for coming by" text, and I might get a thumbs up every now and again. And then I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, hey, remember me? We came to this open house. We're finally ready to sell." I was like, "Sure, give me your property address." So
yeah,
always stay in contact. I am very good. If I meet you, I'm probably at some point contacting you, and I have a whole list. And as I have a free minute each day, I go through a list and send out something, a handwritten card, or some way I'm touching you in some way.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's a long runway for buying a house, right? So it might be 4, 5, 10, whatever years. So that runway, you've got to be hitting those points all along the way, or else they
Yes.
they don't remember who you are.
Yes, and that's why I repeat clients, because if I can get a first time buyer, I can create them into a repeat buyer, and that's the highest form of compliment.
All right. So one BNI habit that drives revenue, because obviously you're doing that.
Oh, one that drives revenue. Uh, Believe in your sphere.
Okay.
Yeah, I have huge belief in them.
Love that. So trust is one of our core values, I think.
Yes, yes. And it's a big one. It's a
Yes,
big
it
one
is.
because
Yes, it is
you put your name on somebody, it needs to be, reliable.
for sure. All right, finish this sentence. A great realtor.
Is a great communicator.
All right, and this one, success in BNI requires.
Attention.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's a good one. All right. So you have had a long career, but what has happened in your last year is what a lot of people are trying to figure out. If somebody is in BNI right now and wants to see the results, what do you think matters most?
Showing up.
All right, that's a good one. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being here. I'm so
Mhm.
glad this was such a wonderful and informative conversation that I'm sure a lot of people can take away from. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of people you could choose from, so I'm honored.
Yes, well, I go right to the top
Oh,
when I'm
thank
choosing
you.
the best guess.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. And for everybody listening, if this gave you something that you can apply this week, make sure you subscribe, share it with somebody in your chapter, or send it to anyone who's trying to grow their business because there's a lot of good content there for them. Because you're not going to grow by accident, you're going to grow with intention. And don't forget to give yourself a CEU credit and make sure, again, you subscribe. Just another reminder, and we'll see you next time on The Perfect 100. Thanks for listening to The Perfect 100. If today's episode sparked a new idea or inspired you to show up differently in your chapter, share it with your team and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you're curious about your own Clifton strengths and how to bring out the best in yourself or your chapter or your business, head to TammyZurak.com to learn more about building your superpowers into everything you do. Keep showing up, keep connecting, and keep building your perfect 100.